Jeff Garmeyer.
Thanks. How's it going? Yeah, we got all the vehicles, the entourage parked down at Marshall Gulch in preparation for my Starlink reception with the tree coverage. So we drove back up to Summerhaven. So we're right there at the general store parking lot. You can see the nice cabins behind us. Beautiful area up here with the fall colors. Yeah, so Mike got in to Molino Trailhead campground. He got in right around 9 o'clock, and uh, he was in bed by 10, up by 3, out of the door by 4. That was the plan. We're trying to make it a short day today with the vert that he has in preparation for a big push in the desert. Um, it's if you I know that not everybody can know how the splits go, but we're kind of in a situation where he's going to have 3 back-to-back 30-plus-mile days in between crew spots. And so we're trying not to go deep in night too bad. And so our plan is to get just past Arizona 77 today. Hopefully, as the sun goes down, hopefully his body will be tired enough to go to sleep and get up by like 1 in the morning, 1 or 2, and do an early start rather than too much of a late night. Um, and so, yeah, so he's on his way up here. Then we'll push down to AZ 77, hopefully by nightfall, and sleep, and then do a big push tomorrow. Yeah, I got actually a text message from a follower yesterday. Very awesome that they actually went and they ran it. They previewed it, and they said it's pretty clear. I mean, I maybe by standards of normal, but so we're hoping. Obviously, he's making really good time. He's already passed the bathtub spring or whatever spring that is down there that you can refill at, and that's where really the bushwhacking started. But he looks like he's moving fairly well, so we're hoping that the intel that we got that he's going to make good time through. And really, like after he's up to Marshall Gulch, I mean, we got a good 100 plus miles of really good pushing without a terrible amount of vert.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the end of the brutal first third of the Arizona Trail. So it's really good to see that it has a bit of a conservative approach and can really crush these miles coming up. Because once you begin that descent, it's a bit rugged, but it's very quick terrain, and that downhill is so flowy, especially once you get down to that flatland where it sounds like he's going to get some rest tonight. And then if he can move well through that, it's quite flat. It moves really well. And it's probably even a little bit cooler too if he's going through it early in the morning. So it sounds like he's in a really perfect spot to capitalize on some of that terrain where he can move really well through.
Yeah. And his, so like, just to let you know, like the first day or two, day and a half, he was kind of, you started to see that fatigue in his face and in his eyes when he'd come into the aid stations, kind of like because the heat and everything like that. From yesterday's Micah, when he came in, the fire is in his eyes. I mean, he has the Cocodona, last year's Cocodona fire in his eyes. He has a super positive attitude. He's feeling good. He's like not any type of physical fatigue at all. He's battling a couple little like feet, like tender spots, I guess you can say. Like we tape them and so they don't turn too bad into a blister, but he has a couple little calluses that have some tenderness underneath that we're trying to keep at bay this early on in the run. But I think it's due to all the hiking rather than the running. But other than that, I mean, he's lit. He's on fire. So I think with that, the energy reserving that energy. I think he's setting himself up well for a good push tomorrow, to late night tonight and into tomorrow, because it may turn. We're gonna take it one at a time, but the two first 30s will equal up to like a 60 plus mile day, and then we might push to go for a second. It might come out to an 80 mile day to try to get to Picket Post. But I mean, that's the goal, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to push him into the well. We're going to play it by ear once he gets over to the Gila River night or tomorrow evening, and decide if we're going to do another 5 to 6 hour push into like a 1 or 2 more. So it'd be like a 24-hour push, and it's kind of rolling the dice, but we'll make that call when we get to the Gila River.
Yeah, and just being healthy and feeling good enough to capitalize on this upcoming terrain is really the goal, because this trail really beats you up early, and then once he's through Summerhaven where you are, the miles get progressively easier for that next section. So if he's feeling good and able to really push it and hammer down here, that's going to be huge for his time on this trail.
Yeah, the last thing we want to do is have him get stuck in a big evening night push in the Superstitions after Picket Post up there at Rogers Trough and above. That's the whole goal, is not to get stuck in the nighttime through that area. So we would rather him push harder with an easy terrain and then go back to a reserve through the Superstitions, through the Four Peaks and the Mazeltoffs.
Does 4 to 5 hours of sleep up to this point per night, does that seem to be working and getting him rejuvenated coming out into the morning and pushing hard?
Oh yeah, he's like, I've never seen him this fresh. Let's just say that in this big of an effort. So I'm used to seeing him with like no sleep, kind of that dazed and confused look on his face in each of the 8 stations. And this, it's like, trail running camp in a way. Like, what's today? What's next? Let's do this. Let's attack it. He's in really good spirits. It's pretty easy. I mean, he's definitely not complaining. Like, that was his motto, is complaining, and he's not complaining at all. He's just like thriving. He's starting to thrive now. Let's say it that way.
Ben, we're going to check back in with you in a second here. I do want to bring on to the show a special guest, Josh Perry, who's coming to us. He is the current self-supported FKT record holder. I actually took that title from Jeff over here. So Jeff, you in 2019 in the spring set the self-supported Arizona Trail record, 15 days, 13 hours. And I believe at the time that also was the overall record that beat Michael Versteeg's. And then Josh came that fall and reset it to 14 days, 12 hours. Josh, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome to have you. What are you thinking so far? Have you been following along here, Mike's journey at all much?
I check in periodically when I'm on Wi-Fi. I don't have data on my phone, so I can't follow along as much as I otherwise would.
Right on.
Yeah, he seems to be doing well.
Yeah, so you went north to south. Something that struck me with Ben talking this morning is a lot of a supported record surrounds where the crew can meet and where he can take those sleeps. Whereas compared to something like you and Jeff did, the self-supported, you guys don't really have those barriers or really that thought process Talk about the differences between a self-supported versus supported.
It was interesting hearing Ben talk just now, knowing, different troughs and all the road crossings, because I had no idea I still don't know any of them, because I just set out and walk every day. Like I didn't have a schedule. I had Jeff's daily average in mind. But you don't have to learn the roads or the water sources or anything. You just kind of wing it and go for it. So you know that you don't know the trail in as much detail. But I think ultimately it makes the planning side of it and the logistical side of it so much easier, because you just send your food out ahead of time, and that's all you have to worry about, and then it's just getting to it.
So we just heard Ben say that Mike was getting about 5 hours of sleep per night, maybe.
Yeah.
You actually passed me while I was on the trail in 2019 at the same time as you while we were sleeping.
Okay.
Were you pushing through the night a little bit later? Do you think you were getting around that same amount of sleep?
So I started off with 6 hours a night and cut down to 4. And then the last couple nights, the wind and the weather, camping on top of Micah and Lemon, meant I didn't sleep much at all. So I really cut it to the well with like 90 minutes, 2 hours.
So this next section, and he's heading the opposite direction that you went, but I remember it being pretty flowy and flat and stuff. What do you remember about this next section, say from Mount Lemon to Picket Post, or say? Are there some pretty big days and miles in there?
Definitely. I did that stretch this spring training for Cocodona, and it was so doing it on fresher legs. It was so smooth and flowy. You could definitely get some big miles out of that, especially until the superstitions, at least.
Yeah, I think in my mind, he has like 200 miles where it's going to be pretty free flowing and can push as much as he wants. And that's also like a bit of a detriment where you can almost push too hard. Did you come through that as well too, where you can get those miles, but then you're going to be hit with some really big climbing as well after that?
Yeah, I think having done so much of it last year, he'll have a bit more experience and kind of knowing what to expect with that. Means hopefully he won't push too hard or go through the night too early on again. But you're definitely able to push harder than you should and pay the price for it.
And I guess on the opposite side of the spectrum, was there a part of the trail that stood out to you as the most difficult? I know you did it an opposite direction that Mike is going right now, but was there anywhere that you struggled in particular out there? I know for me, and maybe for Mike last year, it was probably the Mazatals.
Miller Peak, I don't think I've ever climbed that slowly in my life before. And like counting down, going into the single-digit miles of how far you have left, but just being so broken and unable to move with any haste up there was one of the hardest things I've ever done, going up that mountain.
So on a trail that's rough, almost 800 miles long, how do you break it down as far as where, because Mike's kind of in that phase where maintain and then he'll push and then he'll kind of do that burn all your matches at the end. How do you separate it out when you go for an FKT like this? How long are you in that maintain, and then when do you begin that phase of pushing, and then when do you finally throw it all on the line and really quit sleeping and start hallucinating?
When I did the Arizona Trail, I knew nothing and went out too fast and burnt and died the entire time. I was trying to do 60 a day, and like it wasn't happening. And then I got a stress fracture 8 days in, and it just was all downhill from there. Oh yeah, my left shin. Oh my god. So on that one, I really didn't know enough to even be thinking about when to push and when to hold back. But compared to the PCT, when I knew a lot, I think 8 to 9 days of trying to be conservative, and then 4 or 5 days where you can really push it through at the end. I guess on Mike's timeline, that's probably 8 days and 4 days where you can really go at the end.
Yeah, I always think about it in thirds. Like that first third is to maintain enough, and then that second third is to really figure out what you have left, and then the last third is where you start seeing all sorts of things that aren't real and really motivated by that finish line. But yeah, I think you just got to break everything into thirds, and then it makes it a lot more manageable rather than saying I got 800 miles to break this record. It's more like 250 3 different times in 3 different styles.
Yeah, especially with the AZT, once he gets to Pine and you're onto that last, I think it's 257 miles, when the terrain mellows out so much. You know, I think that's the point where you really can start pushing and stop caring about self-preservation.
Yeah, very true.
So being no stranger to these kind of long efforts, I know you've done Cocodonas, several other FKTs. What are some of the unique challenges that come with the Arizona Trail, in your opinion, that you've faced as opposed to other long distance efforts you've done?
So it would be the kind of just the variation in terrain, how you have these sections going from having a lot of vert to very flat. Like the average elevation of the AZT is 110 foot per mile, but that's not really representative of the trail in the slightest, because you have so much kind of flat, cruisy stuff, and then so much very steep and very long climbs. Whereas like something like the PCT, where it's pretty consistent the entire way, it's very different if you don't do enough research going into the Arizona Trail, and then just things like water out there being so much more variable, it being a desert. Yeah.
All right, I'm curious, if you were doing it right now, either self-supported or self-supported or supported, what would you be doing for sleep per night? Would you be hitting that 2 to 3 hour a night, or this early on, would you be shooting for a little bit higher so you had more left in the tank at the end?
Having just done Cocodona, I've never felt like all my FKTs were so soft before. Because like that really taught me sleep deprivation and how far you can push it. What I thought doing like 90 minutes a night for a couple nights was like sleep deprivation. Doing 36 minutes over 3 days on the Cocodona really showed me a thing or two. So I'd probably be trying to do 3 hours a night right now, and then cut it down. Like Eric showed it was possible last year, or like right on the cusp of possible as well. So.
Should we check back in with Ben, maybe? Well, thanks so much, Josh. Feel free to stick on and chime in. I think we'll be able to get audio across this, but we do want to go back to Summerhaven real quick, if we can.
Yeah.
Ben, that is, I don't know if you want to comment about the self-supported versus supported. It does seem like very much your days and your sleep, like that is a whole new element that you guys have to navigate. In some of these areas, there's, like you said, there's not a great spot to intercept Mike and intercept the trail. So that really can affect, you can't just push it, even six or 7 more miles to kind of tack on that little bit extra, because then he would just be like bivvying by a bush or something potentially.
Yeah, I think, so I'm like really intrigued by Jeff and talking about like the self-supported, the record, and because I'm actually very interested in that kind of concept myself. I'm kind of looking at it from possibly actually going after something like that in the future here on the AZT. But I'm sitting there listening to it, and then so supported, and you got your crew access. So the benefit, obviously, you don't have to carry as much water. You got to carry a good amount of water for like a 30-mile stretch, because the same water accesses that the self-supported we have as well with a filter. Same kind of concept, but then we can reload with nice, fresh, real new water like every time we see the crew. So there's a, you're carrying probably more water self-supported, so that makes you have to walk more often than running, whereas carrying less water, you can run, so you can make up some more time and go a little faster. However, then you get the crew, and it's like this, and everybody knows when you come into an aid station at an FK or at a even an ultra, this all of a sudden you want to chat, or all of a sudden you know, like all this stuff going on, all these moving parts, these people and stuff like that, and the stop becomes a 45-minute to an hour and a half stop. And if you were to be just hiking through that section and only refueling at water spots and then sleeping 3 hours a night, I think you're banking 6 hours of downtime that the supported person has versus the unsupported. So 6 hours you can walk easily, you know, even if you're just doing a 3 mile an hour walk. You know, think of how much ground that you can cover in that time that's kind of wasted. But it's nice to have that mental and emotional refuel, recharge of these other people and friends and family and stuff like that versus being out there solitary alone. So there's like this, it's like a give and take, and it's just like super intriguing, super interesting. And they're almost their own sports in a way, in the same sport. And I think that's why it's obviously its own category. And there's respect on both sides of it, because to tear yourself away from loved ones and crew when you want to chit chat and talk about that section and what you saw and everything like that, you know, it's like fun, you know, but you got to be efficient. So it's like, I think as the years go on and as these FKTs get faster and faster, I mean, if Mike breaks it, there's just going to be someone a year or two down the line that's going to come in and break it again. You know, it's just get faster and faster. Look at Cocodona, or no, I'm sorry, Javelina this year. Holy crap, man. Like, it's just getting so dang fast, you know, it's so incredibly fast. And so, you know, we're going to start seeing where even the supported is just going to change and refine. And there's not going to be much, unless you are a really fast runner over rough terrain. It's just going to be more about the efficiency and the stops versus anything else. It's like the efficiency is the key word for an FKT.
Yeah, I'm really curious on that point. Like this morning, getting up at 3 and out by 4, and even other stops throughout the day. What is the efficiency plan, and what happens during that downtime if he's up for an hour? But is it like taping the feet, getting some food in him at the same time, and then really, I mean, I'm sure it feels like you're rushing, but still an hour goes by. Is it kind of that big pressure on the crew at that moment too?
Yeah, we have delegated job assignments to each of the crew members. So the individual that's going to be pacing first has the assignment to come in. So let's say his alarm goes off. His alarm this morning, let's just run through this morning. His alarm went off at 3:15 this morning. And so he gets up. Scott is in the van with him. You know, obviously you want to stay in a nice, warm, heated environment. And so Scott will start making breakfast. Mike will start getting up, getting dressed. Then my alarm went off basically at 3:30. I came in to the van, came back there. Once he was dressed, I taped up some parts of his feet, got back out of the van because there's only so much room in the van. And then the pacer, which at this time is Jake, and Derek Lytle is out there with them. And Jake comes in and starts packing his pack. And it's like we kind of have like these 15-minute intervals. This person's assignment, then he's out, then this person's assignment, then he's out, then this person's assignment, and then, you know, Mike's out the door. And that's refined. So we're down to like, it's roughly a 45-minute process right now. So to get him out the door, we've gotten him down on his crew spots down to like a 30-minute window of him coming in, airing out his feet, eating some food, repacking his pack, doing it, you know, whatever he needs to do, and then back out the door, or back out on the trail in like a 30-minute period. But when earlier this, you know, like the first few days, it was like an hour and a half, because we're kind of like getting into the groove and getting into whose assignments and what's going to be more efficient. And now, you know, gear is placed in a place where we can just grab it real fast. We found settled in and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to see this whole process become more and more efficient, and everybody knowing their roles and everything.
Yeah, and with these longer segments coming up too, he's going to be having to filter water and stuff out there. How is that process? Is he sitting down, airing out his feet while he's getting that done as well, or is he trying to make it just like a 2 or 3 minute stop to refill that water? Because that's one of the difficult parts of the Arizona Trail in general, is you have to make use of those water spots because there's not many of them.
Yeah, that's interesting to even ask that question. I don't actually know. I know, like, when he hit Mount Micah up at that camp that's up there. So the river, or the two watering sources were dry. I told him that, through the Far Out app, that some people found a couple pools of puddles, I guess you can say, of water up the stream if they walked the riverbed a little bit. I don't know if he really wanted to do that, and he kind of rolled the dice and bypassed walking up and trying to find that. And then he ran into, I told him about the camp up there, which he forgot, but he's like, "Did you know there's a camp up there?" I'm like, "We talked about that." But he ran into the camp, and then actually there was a gentleman up there, and they had the water running, and so he was able to refill at the camp. And they sat for a second and just kind of like visited with the guy. It's kind of part of the trail system, is just to kind of meet people and talk to them. So, but the whole feet thing, I think that is a good point. That's something I think I'll bring up to him today about the desert and an 80-mile push, is that he might want to find a stopping point like halfway through that 30-mile segment to maybe put his feet up or something, to air them out, let the socks dry in the sun or something like that. His feet kind of harden back up from being sweaty, and let the shoes air out just a tad, maybe like 5-10 minutes max, and then get going again. Because 5 to 10 minutes is nothing until you get a blister that slows your pace down by a mile an hour, because you're suffering so bad and everything excruciatingly hurts when you're going through the superstitions and all that stuff. So you feel like you might be wasting time, but you might be actually making up a lot of time by playing it smart.
Yeah, and with the varied nature of the Arizona Trail in general, are you guys adapting and changing his water capacity for each section, or is that more up to him? And do you know how much he's drinking throughout, maybe per hour out there during the heat of the day?
Definitely erring on the side of more. Always drink it if you want it to be lighter, and drinking is a good thing. So right now, I think the lightest he did a 10-mile section from on the other side of Micah to Milano, and it was in the evening. The sun went down. It was cooling down. So he only took 2 liters, 2 1-liter flasks in his front pockets, and that's all he did. But going up Micah, I think we had him loaded up with like 4.5 liters, just in case, just to be overly cautious. And that seemed to work. So we're breaking down the miles. We're figuring out like a 3 to 4 mile an hour. That's what he was kind of averaging, right between that 3 and 4, depending on the vert in that section. And then just getting a time frame and then dividing it like by time. And depending on the time is how many liters he would, ingest.
And then as far as, water consumption, fueling goes, I was curious about some of Mike's fueling strategies and what that looks like for you guys as a crew. How much is he eating out there on trail as opposed to when he comes in for a crew stop? And are there any favorite foods that he's had so far?
Well, so our goal is to fill him until it like stuff him like a stuffed turkey, like at every cruise bite. Eat until you can't eat anymore, Tina, like that. So it's like, so we've been trying to feed him as much as possible. Obviously, the first 2 days, it got to be really a hit or miss what he could actually intake. Right now, he's craving what we found the go-to right now is it's a venison sausage, breakfast sausage from Force of Nature that we get. It's one of his favorite things. We don't exactly know why he's craving that so bad, because every time he starts to eat ground beef, that's like even grass-fed ground beef, he's just kind of like, but the minute he touches the sausage, it's just like, give me more. I can't get enough. So it's kind of interesting how that body works that way. So in the aid station, it's like 1,000+ calories. I got him a Pizza Hut gluten-free pizza yesterday, and he's like, please, more of that. So, and then he's been having some sushi. He had sushi last night and even finished it off, some of it this morning, some California rolls. So those are some things. Out on trail, I mean, he's been doing his spring energies. He really likes some of the spring meal, the bigger ones, the 350 calorie. He's been doing potato chips. We're just trying to like give him a variety of different stuff. But some liquid calories he's been doing. But other than that, like I think it's been minimal kind of in between out on trail, just a little bit here and a little bit there, but it's the bigger meals now at the aid stations. Probably something a little bit, obviously a contrast difference between a supported and self-supported style.
Yeah, are you getting a heads up from either him or whoever's pacing him before he gets to that next cruise spot so you can have that meal or whatever he's craving ready to go? Or is it just a crapshoot and you're starting what you're thinking he might like and just going with it from there?
Yeah, it's definitely a 50-50 crapshoot. It's kind of like talking to him at the aid station. What do you like? What would you like at the next one? Especially if we're passing through a town. Like if we're passing through a town like this one, I'm going to be like, hey, we're driving right by a Mod Pizza on our way over, and I know that's going to be on the menu. It's like one or two, maybe even three of them, just to, he'll have them cold later. Just the fact that we have access to a Mod Pizza, so he really likes the Mod Pizza. But it's kind of like we when he does have service, his pacer will get on and send a message, something that he's craving. Sometimes it's a lot of times that something we don't already have, or we don't have because it's like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. We'll have to have that next time, next time we go to a store and pick something up. But I think he's kind of turning around on eating more. I made him some liver yesterday, and so he ate a little bit of liver with his sushi and his what he had for dinner and stuff like that. So
Texas Country Living here in the chat chimed in and says that venison sausage has more sodium. So I don't know if that's a reality. Yeah, so that could be a real thing. I'm curious, Josh, if you can still hear us. We do have the map on the screen right now. But Josh, did you enjoy any venison sausages or some liver, fresh liver on the trail? What were you eating out there?
As a born and raised vegetarian, I did not. I mostly eat M&Ms.
Really?
About 5,000 calories a day in M&Ms usually. Oh my!
Is that real? Is that serious?
Oh yeah, no, I took 55 kilos of M&Ms on the PCT.
Wow.
Yeah,
does that just become like a congealed blob of chocolate and shell?
There's method to the madness. If an M&M has something solid inside of it, it doesn't melt. It's like the peanut ones are good in hot weather. The peanut butter ones melt, and the chocolate ones melt. But like the cookie and crisp or the pretzel ones or the fudge brownie ones, they all stay solid.
Do you typically have a rotation of like different types of M&Ms? Yeah.
Yeah, you have like seven styles, one for each day of the week. I'm not joking.
Why do you eat besides M&Ms?
I try and do like one or two packets of ramen a day, a lot of nuts and just bars. And then like a lot of candy. Sour jelly worms. On the Arizona Trail, I did a lot of Sour Patch Kids. I'd actually got like ulcers in my mouth from eating so much sour candy.
This is the real difference between self-supported and supported right here.
Come on. I think you've got to back me up on this, Jeff.
Oh,
Are you that different?
I'm right there with you. You just plan out calories per ounce and what you know that you can eat for 14 plus days in a row every day. Do you plan for calories an ounce, and do you know how much M&Ms are calories per ounce?
Yeah, so peanut ones are 150, and then most of the flavored ones are 140 calories an ounce.
Yeah, I mean, that's right in the wheelhouse because personally I'm always shooting for 135 to 140 and up just to make it worthwhile to carry it on your back for so long.
Yeah, definitely.
Just on that point, I know Jeff's done freezer burritos at the beginning of a trail, and where he lets them thaw in his backpack, and progressively they get better and then worse throughout his trip. Is that something that you might employ?
It's not for me, but I do pack out several pizzas, and we'll eat pizzas for days on end between resupplies. Just wrapped in cling film.
There is one spot on the Arizona Trail where you can have a pizza delivered to you, and that's going through Kearney. There's like a water spigot near there. You could actually call the pizza place, and they're friendly with the Arizona Trail hikers, and they'll bring you pizza and ice cream. Is that something that you took advantage of, or were you able to, like, time-wise?
I didn't know about that. I would have thought about it otherwise.
Yeah, I actually contacted Peter before the trail and just to ask, like, if I happen to be there when they could deliver a pizza, would that be self-supported? And he was like, yeah, it's accessible to everyone, but unfortunately I was there in the morning and so could not take advantage. But the pick-me-up of having a pizza delivered fresh while you're in the middle of an FKT would be unmatched, I think.
It's definitely happened on Appalachian Trail records. There's like 3 shelters that will get delivered to. I know one of the Joes definitely had at least one pizza delivered to them on trail.
Should we take a peek at some of the content that we have from, we do have some photos, maybe a video or two of Mike from yesterday on trail, so I think we're going to cut to that and see if we get a little in-person view of what Mike's seeing out there.
Here he is walking.
Yeah, we have, sorry, no context to some of this. I don't know if Ben can chime in. It looks like we got a drone shot here. This is...
You can see Mike hiking here.
Is that lemon?
Yeah, you would have to. I'd have to. I don't have access to that. I only have access to you guys, so I wouldn't be able to comment.
This is just a test for all of us here in the studio to try and figure out what section of the Arizona Trail. This is...
The approach to Micah.
Yeah, because I think Mike is in the background back there on the left, kind of.
Or on the right.
Or maybe the right.
Mike is on the right, Lemon's on the left.
Oh, yep, there he is running.
Looks like they're moving well.
And he has had, I think Ben said yesterday, he's had consistent pacers since after mile 20, I believe. Is that still true, Ben?
Yeah. Since mile 20, he's had a pacer ever since. There's a couple times, like right now, Derek really wanted to come out, and one of the current crew members really wanted to go do the lemon climb, see down in there. So he has 2 right now, but that's not always the case. When you see multiple people with them, it's usually closer to a trailhead where they hike out to them, especially the videographer or the photographer will hike out to him and catch some reels or some shots out on trail before coming in and stuff. So when you start to see like 2 or 3 people, it's just like people kind of hiking out to him, greeting him and bringing him into the trailhead. But other than that, it's just usually one pacer.
Do you recognize that hoodie, Jamil?
I think it's Cocodona.
Is it? Cocodona hoodie? Nice.
Yeah, it doesn't look like his feet are bothering him too much.
Oh, no. So yeah, here you can get a little taste of the trail and see the pack he's wearing here.
Complaining about how heavy his pack is.
My pack is so bloody heavy.
And got the poles out even on a flatter section, looks like. Do you use poles out there, Jeff, at all? Or Josh?
Yeah, I did on the Arizona Trail. I'm a little more split now, but I think they're pretty good for climbing. I usually put them away to do the descents out there, but they can help save your legs for a little bit longer for sure. I think Josh might be a no pole guy.
And some of this, I think, was from day one. Maybe we can go over to his Instagram and see if we can get some stuff from the last 24 hours here. Maybe his stories. Looks like not a whole lot going on. Yeah, that's... All right, we just got some of the crews hitting the weights in between the sessions there for sure. Nice.
Ben, do you know what kind of cooling strategies and things he's doing out there, or is there certain stuff you're doing when he comes into a crew aid spot?
Man. We'll have to send you a good picture. We got a really good picture of him putting the bandana full of ice, like around his head and tied it underneath, and like the ice is like on the sides of his face, and then he has the cap on, and it looks like a huge chipmunk cheeks and stuff like that. That was like day 2 when he was overheating a little bit, and so he left us with this, like, his face married between 2 ice packs.
So are you just running through ice like crazy during those stops out there?
We actually, I guess the coolers aren't burning through the ice. I mean, we're trying to obviously save all the ice for him. We don't need the ice ourselves, because even though it's hot out there exposed, because once you start running, I would say he hit 85 plus the first day, 2 days. But yesterday, obviously on the big climb up over Micah, it cooled down for him at elevation. So he didn't talk about it being overly hot, a little exposed, but not overly hot. And then today, I mean, what the heck is going on here? Like, I don't know if you guys looked at the weather down here, but I think the forecast high of Tucson is 57. What's up with that? Like, so we're up here in Summerhaven. I mean, it feels warm in the sun, but I mean, I still have my jacket on, not overly hot, but not, cold or anything. And there's a nice little breeze. After he left this morning, this breeze kind of came in. And so we got this like fall temp cool breeze. So, and then I think it even gets cooler tomorrow. And that's why we were like looking at the desert push. It was saying all we can see is Tucson. I haven't looked at like the actual desert part of it, but the Tucson was high of 50. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's what WeatherBug was saying. It was high of 50. And if that's the case, that's going to be like a God's miracle giving to Mike to do a big 80-mile push through probably the lowest, hottest part of the whole entire ACT.
I think you guys nailed it as far as starting time. Like a week ago today, I would say like the high was right, like hovering around 100. And then since this weekend, since Monday of this week, it has just gone down dramatically, and we've had the windows open for the first time since April at our house, so timing is on point.
Yeah, just as long as, we still haven't gotten up to Flagstaff, and anything can roll through, so keep our fingers crossed and knock on wood. So
one thing I wanted to point out, and I've been thinking about it ever since you mentioned you were in front of the general store in Summerhaven, is one of the points I made on the Arizona Trail was to try as much fudge as I can. And I would say that the fudge at that general store, especially orange creamsicle, is unbelievable.
So I've been talking up the fudge. Being low carb and everything like that, I still like, I'm buying fudge when I get up here, and I'm going to be putting it in the cooler and taking it home with me. I've been talking about it for like the last day to the whole crew. We pull up, it's closed Monday and Tuesday. Can you freaking believe that? It's like,
I am destroyed inside right now.
What's the luck, And now my crew's giving me a hard time that I promised them fudge.
Yeah. What's the next fudge stop on the trail?
The next one, and you might get some, you might be able to find some in Kearney, but other than probably Pine. I think Pine, I feel like Patagonia.
You might be able to find some in Superior. I think All Things Desert might have some on Main Street, Superior.
Okay, that'll be good because that'll be midweek, and Picket Post is obviously our hopefully our sleep stop, and I'm already looking forward to. There's a diner that we ate at last year, freaking amazing diner in Superior. So I'm looking forward to breakfast at the diner after Mike heads out.
So it looks like, and then I was just wanted to mention this on the elevation profile too, is this is the biggest descent on the entire Arizona Trail coming down from Mount Lemmon. You go through the desert, it flattens out a little bit, but then you have a big drop down even to the Gila River, which is the lowest point on the entire trail. So it might warm up even a little bit down there. I know winters I've gone down there, it's 80 degrees highs. It's warmer than it is even in Phoenix down there. So it'll be an interesting, I'd say, next 100 miles going from about 8,000 feet to maybe 102 feet. Under 2,000, yeah. So over like a 6,000 foot drop.
What we were thinking is, so he'll hit, so from AZ 77 to, I guess it's called Kelvin Bridge is the Gila River. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of a net loss, I guess you can say roller net loss coming down to it. If he starts super early in the morning, he'd be hitting the Gila closer to the late afternoon, and then climbing out of the Gila to Picket Post, he would be doing it as the sun goes down and into the first night. So I think, like obviously that center, the middle 30 is going to be a kind of an interesting section depending on the heat. But I think we might have rolling the dice, we might have just hit this perfect. Like it's just going to work out perfect. But we'll take one stop at a time and see how it goes and see what he faces. But I think we got some good odds in our favor.
Ben, is Derek Lytle with him right now?
Yes, yeah, he's out there with him right now.
Oh, I got a text just now that says Mount Lemmon right now. So I don't know if we can get him on here, but I did send them a link. So there's an outside chance we might. I don't know how.
Yeah, it all depends on Mike. Mike's like the last. I mean, I've been trying to talk to his pacers about getting on the link, and Mike's kind of shutting it down. But the funny thing is that he's actually watching. The funny thing is he's watching the show on YouTube. He's having his pacers watch the show on YouTube and let him listen, but he doesn't want to get on. So what's that?
I think that's fine. I mean, he's in the zone. He's experiencing the trail for all it's worth. Yeah.
He gets it's almost like a play-by-play. Like you get to, and you can kind of maybe get a little bit of a preview of what's coming up. So if you're listening, we're happy that you have some downhill coming up, and I think you'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah, and certainly I get it. He's focusing on the major goal at hand, and it's fun to check in and get that support and motivation of the show going on. But I completely get that he's in his own element on some of these climbs are brutal. This section of the trail, I mean, as you know, last year it can break you for the rest of the trail. So I think just really focusing on getting it in, and this is the portion where you have to be so in tune with water, sodium, your body and stuff, because you really need to capitalize on this middle section. So I completely get it. Want to check in, but don't necessarily need to be a part of it too. He's already got so much going.
What's really interesting is, I mean, we've been kind of watching. I mean, I know my splits from last year, and then I'm watching his. And he was kind of frustrated a little bit because he was a few hours behind my splits, end of day one and into day two. But as I was, I guess, having to push through all the overgrowth and everything like that, and it was taking a huge toll on me physically. Now where he's at, he's almost 3 hours ahead of me based on and he's getting even more sleep. So I had to reassure him, because he was kind of letting that get into his head a little bit, and I was like, dude, it's totally different, and we were playing a conservative game on his behalf, and now it's paying off. The conservative game is paying off, and he's making up time. And I was way more in the well, and he's looking like super strong, super determined, and everything like that. So we kind of talked about that a little bit, and it's just going to help him going forward, where I was kind of going deeper and deeper into the well, pushing through all the overgrowth, and with trying to actually, I was trying to keep up with him, because I was getting text messages from from his status, and he was like 20 or 30 miles ahead of me coming off the north side, and with me having all the vert and everything. And so it's just kind of interesting to watch how this all worked out. And I'm just kind of like sitting back, just analyzing from an analyzing standpoint to more of a strategy on even future attempts, like what's the best option and what's the best way to approach the Arizona Trail.
Is he working off splits or times that he wants to based on Joe's record right now, or is this part just completely by feel and that will come up later?
And this is kind of like a little side note, we're trying not talk about Joe's splits, because he kind of gets a little worked up, like comparison about that. And I keep telling him, don't just, run your race. Don't run someone else's race. And so it was getting to him a little bit the first day or two, but yesterday he's been able to like just put it out of his mind. I don't care. I'm just doing my thing. And that seems to create a lot better temperament and mood and stuff like that. So the word on, anybody that comes and joins the crew, the cardinal rule is don't even talk to him about where Joe was or where, and stuff like that. Don't bring up, like splits and all that stuff. It's just run by feel, push where you can, pull back when you have to, be as efficient as possible and run your own race.
Yeah, on that note, what else are you telling pacers when they go out to join him? Are you giving them metrics on water or food or things for him to focus on, or what's kind of the role of pacers out there?
I think the role of pacers are obviously to keep so Mike's really good about eating and drinking on his own schedule. So he's so experienced that it'd be different from pacing a first person on a 100-miler, and that pacer is like, okay, 20 minutes, time to eat. Okay, 1 hour, time to take our salt tabs. Like Mike is like an efficient machine when it comes to that. So you don't need to remind that. My thing with pacers, and a lot of the pacers I don't know personally, and my biggest thing, and any of the pacers that might be watching the show that are coming out, my biggest thing is we want you to be, not a liability. That's the last thing that we want you to be, is a liability. We want you, to be there as to help with the situation and stuff like that. So be prepared. So my thing is, okay, as a pacer, do you have the right supplies just in case you get hurt and you have to you have to make your way out, and Mike can continue forward. So that's the thing. So we're making sure each pacer has an inReach married to their phone, so that they can send messages through the inReach, that they have the GPX of the passage that they're doing downloaded, the updated version. Not everybody has the Far Out app, so Mike has it, but we just want them to make sure they're not a liability to the overall effort, and then they have the right gear, so that they, just in case the weather changes, situation changes, and stuff like that. So, but that's the main point. And then to, you know how pacing goes. It's like, tell him about yourself. Don't ask him questions. Don't ask for responses that if it's a question, it's a yes or no question. You can ask him a yes or no, but tell him about yourself. Keep his mind, not in the well. And when he wants you to shut up, shut up.
Yeah, it's like provide some entertainment or something else that can take his mind away from the trail and like go somewhere else.
Yep.
I do want to open up. We have people in the chat here. If you guys have any questions for Ben right now, some people talking about the weather, that there's just a big cold front that, as you know, is dropping in. Shad, shout out to him. He's up near Black Canyon right now. He says it's 52 out. So, yeah. it's like a good time to have a cold front move in as you head through and across the desert section ahead, and kind of out of, I guess, the last of the Sky Islands would be Mount Lemmon.
Hopefully the heavens aren't blessing him before they humble him.
Yeah. So I guess Bryce brought up a good thing. Are there? Do you think there's any other factors aside from maybe that overgrowth that's helping Mike move past and faster than your splits out there? Is it a little bit of the weather and maybe that support and knowledge and that stuff you bring as well? What do you think's helping Mike move a little bit quicker than your splits out there?
Definitely. I mean, I can only imagine that it is helping, because he is, okay, what's this section? Like, I'm a valuable resource all the way up to AZ77. So at the end of the day today, he's kind of on his own on what the trail looks like. Let's say it that way. But I'm basically, one of the things about me that I've recognized of a strength that I have is I can recall like almost anywhere I've gone. Like, I can close my eyes and just see every bit of the sections, and I've only done it once. And so, each time he comes into a station, he looks to me and he just goes, okay, we have on this one. And I'll like walk him through basically, okay, the first bit is this kind of climbing, rolling hills. You're going to go into this descent. You're going to go wrap around this mountain. I can just see it all still, like it was fresh, like I just did it last year. And that's just something I've been able to add to that. So hopefully that kind of helps him from obviously a mental and an emotional standpoint. Physically, obviously, that's all about him. One thing I have noticed more than anything else, we're almost 200 miles in. He hasn't started stretching or doing his like power squats, too much. He's not complaining about tight hips. There's no fatigue in his legs. He's not talking about any type of fatigue. So all his strength training that he's been doing is definitely has paid off when it comes to body fatigue. That's one thing I noticed for myself, is that what I might not be as fast of a runner carrying a little bit more muscle mass, but I've been able to, I just don't have that same fatigue that some other people experience as much, because with the extra strength. So I'm thinking that's playing even a role, because his strength training from last year to this year is substantially more, and he actually is leaner. He actually weighs, I think he even weighs roughly the same, but obviously more muscle mass and stuff like that. But I think, the bushwhacking, I think even though I was pushing through the bushwhacking and I was physically in pain because of all the scratches and the cuts and all that stuff, the sections I was pushing through, I think he's hiking it as well, because of just the fact of the rock or the terrain or the vertical gain and stuff like that. So the paces are kind of relatively very similar, even though he just has, it's the spirit, his spirits are up. And he was showing me a couple little scratches on his legs, and he's like, yeah, look, I got a little bit of scratches. I kind of know what you kind of felt. There's like 2 or 3 scratches, and I'm like, by this time, man, I was like bleeding down my legs into my socks.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like specific to today, when he comes in to Summerhaven right now, what's the plan? Do you have something cooking up for him? Is he going to sit for a couple minutes, change shoes, dry out things? What's the crew got in store for him right now?
We're just going to, when we get back there, we'll cook him up some of the breakfast sausage, have it all ready to go. This one, even though he did a big section, this next 2 sections are pretty light. I kind of want him to take a little bit of a break, because if he goes too fast, he's going to end too early at AZ77. It's going to be still light. It's not that far away. We're only looking at another 25 miles. And if he comes in at noon at 25 miles, he's barely making dark. like, or even before dark, because it's even downhill and it's fast. Through that Oracle Park is super fast. It's super runnable. So I'm kind of like, let's take it easy, because you got a big day tomorrow. And like, big day tomorrow. Let's take it easy. Take your load off your feet. Stay for a while. Rest, you know? So I'm going to try to not to push him out the door on that aspect, and so that we can hit it more at nightfall, so that he can sleep at like 7 and then be up by 2.
Yeah, what is that goal for tonight for the sleep again? Is it that
5 hours? That's our rule. We're just trying to do 5 hours. But
no, I meant like what location are you trying to get to sleep? Was it down in Oracle, or was it beyond that?
Yeah, it's 7 miles beyond. You cross Arizona 77, and then you go another 2 miles to a trailhead right before you enter the desert. I don't know. I can't remember the trailhead name just offhand.
Tiger Mine, I think.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's
that's
really
where I think that's where you spent a day there, I believe, last year. That's your quit point.
So I tripped. I hurt my SI joint in that Oracle Park, and then I sat there at that trying for about 24 hours trying to stretch. I was trying to do anything possible. I was well ahead of the FKT time wise, and I felt if I just took the extra time, and it wasn't coming around. And then Mike ran into some major issues up by Pine, and we just decided, okay, it doesn't look like my FKT's over. Let's go and get up to Mike and see if we can, help him out.
Is there a contingency or something, because that section upcoming, that descent is pretty quick? If he gets in at, say, 5:30 or 6, is he able to sleep before it's dark out, or will you still stick to that sleep strategy? Or what's the thought if he does move faster?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I know Mike well enough to know he does not sleep during the day. Like, it has to be dark. I mean, he doesn't sleep well at night as it is. So maybe we throw on some Hot Rod, we watch a movie, and kick back, and a little drive-in type action going, and bust out some. We don't drink beer, but bust out some soda waters and get real, have some fun or something like that. Wait till the sun goes down, and then put him to bed.
Nothing like partying mid FKT, that's for sure.
We're gonna put some comments on the screen here just for fun. We haven't done any of those yet, right? Is Mike still loving the keto bricks? This is from Dax.
All right, yeah. Keto bricks are freaking gold. The problem is he loves them so much, but we have to kind of be a little bit sparingly about how we utilize them. So we've been and he eats them out on trail, so he'll take like a brick with him and gnaw on it a little bit. So I guess it's a 1,000-calorie brick. So he's just gnawing on it a little bit at a time as he's out of, and then we'll take the one that he's kind of like dug into when he gets into the trailhead, and we. Like this morning, he had pancakes, and we melt the keto brick and put it into the pancakes with frozen fruit, like blueberries, and so it's like we took a chocolate brownie keto brick, melted it down, and it goes in, and then it turns it into a chocolate pancake with blueberries and banana, and then maple syrup just poured over it. So obviously the low carb runner right there, So.
Is there going to be any Ben Light special waffles on the trail?
Just the pancakes, I think. So, unfortunately, I definitely, man. I'm on a keto. I'm on a full-on keto reset, so I'm not even having any carbs.
Putting yourself through some pain. Finn Melanson in the chat. I love this coverage. Thanks for tuning in, Finn. Appreciate you. A lot of excitement on the Arizona Trail. We have Stephen Porter just tuned in to. We're not going to mention this name around Mike, of course, but String Bean's AZT FKT documentary. So can't talk about those split times. That is crazy though. Like String Bean it can be tough, right? Like he crossed both those big mountain ranges in a day, and that can be daunting to think about. Like, oh my God, he was so much farther ahead. But as we all know from that documentary, he lost a ton of time at the end of the trail. There's not multiple feet of snow on the North Rim at the moment, so I think that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, you think, I mean, you look at it that way, Mike's ahead because he doesn't have to take a day off, kind of a thing. So, but at the same time, what I'm reminded of Mike about is that we're trying to bank physical energy for a big push at the end. If he gets, we saw it last year. Once he went into the well, there's no coming out of the well mid FKT push of an 800 mile. There's no like, hey, I'm just gonna take an extra hour of sleep and feel fine. It doesn't happen. We clearly saw it last year, and so the whole idea is to keep him reserved. So yeah, when he gets out of Pine, gets up on the plateau, at any point in time, we can slowly start doing a progressive push and increase.
How far do you think he can do that final push? Like, is he good for 250 miles? Is he good for 200 miles after that cumulative, first part of the trail?
I think if we do this 80-mile push, it'll give us a good idea of what happens to him. We'll be rolling the dice, but if we hit 60, we hit the first two, and it's like, he's like, oh my gosh, I don't think I could do another section without going into the well, then we won't. But if he does the next section and he looks fresh, and then we get the 5 hours of sleep, and then he starts into the superstitions and he's handling it okay, then we know that we banked good and things are going good. And we are going to be, again, reserved all the way through Pine up until he gets on that plateau. So he might start to take some shorter days here and there and stuff like that, but just kind of really pay attention to his body and his energy. But at that point, so right now the game plan is Flagstaff. Flagstaff is the start to hammer mark. But if he's doing really well and maybe we tried a little early, I think I'm going to hand that off, even though I know Mike really well. I'm going to hand that off to Jeff come this Friday. Jeff Browning,
his coach.
Yeah, I got Jeff Garmeyer in my head right now, so I'm like, Jeff Browning. And so when he comes, Jeff's going to be able to. He'll bring a new fire into Mike, and he'll come with some fresh strategy and an assessment, and he's going to be joining us through the weekend. And so that'll be an interesting, time to see about that. I think it's going to get super exciting the minute he gets past Pine. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah. And by the way, if you didn't catch yesterday's show, it was a really good one. Jeff was on there for like 30, 40 minutes talking about a lot of different things and how, I think it's going to be a huge boost to have Jeff joining the team. Is he going to join in Flagstaff or is he going to join down in Pine?
I think he's available through the weekend. So wherever we are come Friday-ish time frame, he's going to start making his way down. He's available all the way up to Sunday. Monday he has commitments, and he's talking about maybe coming back on Tuesday for the final. If that's the final day, or if it's Wednesday, it's in that range, Tuesday or Wednesday, hopefully.
Yeah, but I'm sure that's going to be a huge boost to have your coach is up there. He's going to be there supporting you all weekend long. So it's just like, let's get there, and it's just an additional support team. Cool. Well, I don't know if I have much more. Do you guys have much more you want to chat about? I think I don't want to take too much more of your time, Ben. You took a whole hour out of your day. I know you guys have a lot to pack in, so we want to let you get back to it and get ready and get set for the next sausage cook-off coming up here this morning. So enjoy your time in Summerhaven. It looks absolutely beautiful up there right now, and we'll be watching him this afternoon on the Oracle descent, and then looking forward to checking back in tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.
Josh or Jeff, you guys have any more closing thoughts? We want to thank Josh Perry for jumping on this morning as well.
Yeah, don't party too hard tonight while you're waiting for the sun to go down.
Josh, any closing thoughts today?
I'd go the opposite way. I think party as hard as you can whilst you've got the time, but
Awesome.
you've got the
Well,
opportunity to.
yeah. Well, from all of us at Mountain Outpost, thank you guys so much. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Tune in tomorrow and each day, 9 a.m. for Arizona Trail 800-mile Showdown check-ins. We'll see you soon.